Mastercard deflects blame for NSFW games being taken down, but Valve says payment processors specifically cited a Mastercard rule about damaging the brand. Valve, aka Steam, just straight up said that Mastercard's liars. That's what this headline means. And if you go down and you read what is said here, you actually see the comment from Valve when they talk about this. This is what it says here. In a statement provided to PC Gamer, Valve said that it had tried to work things out with Mastercard directly prior to removing the games, and suggested that Mastercard did have at least an indirect influence on the outcome. Mastercard did not communicate with Valve directly, despite our request to do so, a Valve representative said. Mastercard communicated with payment processors and their acquiring banks. Payment processors communicated this with Valve, and we replied by outlining Steam's policy since 2018 of attempting to distribute games that are legal for distribution. And then what payment processors responded with was this. Payment processors rejected this and specifically cited Mastercard's Rule 5.12.7 and risk to the Mastercard brand. And this is what the rule actually states. Rule 5.12.7 relates to illegal or brand-damaging transactions and states a merchant must not submit to its acquirer and a customer must not submit to the interchange system any transaction that is illegal or in the sole discretion of the corporation, may damage the goodwill of the corporation or reflect negatively on the marks. You know what this basically means right here? Like, unironically, it's this. It's this. Censoring Japan, disabling payments, all in the sake of protecting the brand. It is actually crazy that they're using the exact same statement that the CEO of Visa Japan said. Mastercard is literally, pretty much word for word, saying the exact same thing. They want to talk about brand damage, damage to the brand. I'm going to tell you, Steam, itch.io, and other companies that have been affected negatively by this, straight up could potentially start a legal battle. I could see a legal battle starting. And let's explain why. Just from an outsider looking at it, and I'm obviously not a worker for Valve/Steam or even itch.io, you gotta look at what this does to the public perception of Steam and itch. Steam removed hundreds of games, and they legit made an entirely new policy just to bow down to these payment processors, to bow down to Mastercard and Visa. And obviously, this caused a lot of people to get upset. A lot of people are like, why would you basically bend over for these payment processors that want to damage you and ruin the goodwill? Like, you know, your good image, for instance. A lot of people have this very good image of Steam. And obviously, sometimes Steam might do something that's not good. But overall, Steam's relationship with the consumer is relatively positive. I think pretty much most people can agree with that. The public perception of Steam is in a very positive light. However, after this situation, this definitely calls into question Steam, and it makes people view Steam in a little bit more of a negative light, because it's like, oh, so you're just bending over, you're not really even fighting back against payment processors, and you make an entirely new rule that's pretty much arbitrary, where you will do whatever these payment processors want you to do. You will censor and remove things at a whim if they just do not like it. That's pretty much what the entire new policy does. And obviously, this is obviously causing a lot of people not wanting to potentially work with Steam. It's going to cause game developers, indie devs, to potentially think twice before they might release their game on Steam's platform, because at any given moment, you know, it might be removed, because these payment processors might bullseye one of their games and just completely remove them from the platform and remove all their income. So that is 100% damage to the brand. That's not even including the amount of games that were de-indexed or removed completely from Steam's platform already, and they're still not up. The fact is that obviously is a loss of revenue. That's a loss of money. And even if it doesn't get into like millions upon billions of dollars, it's still a loss of revenue. It still hits Steam. It hurts content creators as well that release these games on their platform. And one of the big things that obviously Valve/Steam even stated is that these games, regardless if they, you know, might seem icky or nasty to some people, they are legal. They are straight up legal. They're fictional. They are free to operate in the market. There is nothing illegal about them. So, for instance, a United States citizen wanting to buy these, like, for instance, adult games, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. However, the fact that Mastercard and these payment processors cited a rule about illegal selling of content, or at the very least they said may damage the goodwill of the corporation or reflect negatively on the marks, says enough that it isn't about the illegal content. It's more or less just control, and also they're just doing an arbitrary rule to just basically say we're doing this for brand protection because we don't want to be associated with this type of content, which is really messed up since they basically own an entire monopoly. They own a monopoly of the market. There's not really any other option. For instance, a market's supposed to be free. You're supposed to be able to, like, if a company, kind of is like doesn't want to do business with you, you should be able to shop for options and do this other business. But the fact that Visa and Mastercard are like a dual monopoly, they control pretty much the entire world, there's nothing you can really do. You can't fight back against that, which is why Steam obviously had to, yes master, and basically back down and bow down to Mastercard and them, because they couldn't fight it, or they would get blacklisted, and then the damage wouldn't just affect, like, adult games, it would affect their entire platform. And you can obviously see the PR nightmare of that alone. The damage to Steam would be insane. Like, probably the biggest damage we've ever seen from a gaming platform or gaming company. But I need to back up because I'm getting a little bit off topic. The point of the matter is that Steam obviously had damage to their brand. The same can be said for itch.io, and itch.io is going to be hit harder. And the reason for that is because it is more of a niche gaming site than Steam is. Let's just be blunt. Now, itch is big. It is. It has a lot of indie games and stuff that become very popular from it that blow up into the mainstream, but it is a smaller site. And the thing about this is thanks to what happened recently, a lot of people that make these indie games might not want to host their indie game on their platform in fear of it getting removed. Now, obviously, itch.io is trying their best to fight back. They are releasing games, like adult games, that are labeled free back on their platform. But the point is that the pressure from these payment processors has damaged them. They have lost a lot of money as well, and it's damaged their site's reputation. And so if we're talking about damage to the brand, they have been affected a lot. That's not including these Japanese sites, the Japanese dating app, and a bunch of other things that I am completely unaware of. If Mastercard and Visa straight up want to say damage to the brand, they're damaging others. And this is why I say, I honestly think that we're at the precipice of seeing a legal battle. Like an actual legal battle from like Steam or something against Mastercard and Visa. Because the pressure is obvious that these card companies are feeling pressure because they're making statements trying to deny the allegations or statements against them when we know they're lying. There is a massive paper trail against them for years upon years. They can't really get out of this one now that it's just such public knowledge now, because it's no longer contained just to the anime community. It's the gaming community as well now, and a lot of journalists that are on both sides are talking about this. You have news sources that have been very biased and anti-gamer for literally a decade plus at this point, also on the side of gamers. I think this says a lot. This is not something Mastercard and Visa can really talk their way out of. It's bad. It's not a good look. And even if they theoretically back down and they allow these games back on these platforms, I feel like that will also open up a whole new can of worms of legal issues as well. But let's get back into the main point of what Mastercard has done here. They are directly trying to deny these accusations by saying that the people beneath them, these banks and these other people, like these actual providers, these payment processors or whatever below them, are the reasons why it got denied. But the fact that they turn around and use the rule from Mastercard to allow this showcases that Mastercard, more or less, if we wanted to summarize this business, they probably heard wind of everything going on. They've been getting a lot of calls and stuff like that. And they probably are like, okay, make this problem go away. And probably told the people below them and all that and other businesses like banks and stuff, make this problem disappear. And which then they contacted Steam. And then obviously Steam was pressured into, removing the games. And what really gives evidence to this, actually, is the fact Valve's statement here to PC Gamer, what they say about it, is that they directly contacted Mastercard. They ignored them. But then, eventually, as they were ignored, you had the payment processors contact them, and it was basically a spokesperson for MasterCard and them. And then Steam follows up with a policy, basically outlining and showing their policies, that what they've had on their site since the very beginning, for a very long time. And then, suddenly, the next thing we get is Steam removes games and they add a new policy. it's very obvious what happened here. That once they showed their policies to management, they're like, you need to add a new policy for us, for the card companies. Very, very apparent what happened there. So I think we are getting a timeline now on how this all went down, and I think Val, in their own way, are rebelling. They are straight up, they are on our side in their own way, and they are just letting the public use this knowledge to keep speaking out about it, because I think that right now, this is probably the most pressure in a while these card companies have felt, and I think they do not understand the hornet's nest they have walked on, or stepped on, because of this situation. And the fact that you have like 4chan and a bunch of other major sites just calling them every single minute now at this moment is hilarious, but makes a lot of sense. Because every time you give them a call, it charges them. And anything when it comes to call centers and stuff, if it's over 80% traffic, these call centers do not like that. They don't. They straight up do not, because it charges them and they want that traffic to go down. So the fact that they're probably getting calls so much is making them upset. Mastercard and Visa are losing money, and they don't like that. Even if it might be only like a few $100,000 to them, that's still unacceptable. They don't like that, and I feel like if this continues to go on for like, let's say a month plus, 2 months or whatever, there will be some probably some changes. I definitely sense it. But yeah, I wanted to bring this up. This was insane news to read. Like, I mean, Mastercard's rules being like this is so arbitrary, which, by the way, if you're wondering what you're looking at, this is the Mastercard rules, their official rules, and I want you to look at the top of the screen here. 484 pages, man. They have so many freaking rules, it's actually insane. And the rule that, the one that we're discussing today, it's on page 122 here, and this is what they outlined, if you're wondering what it outlines. It's insane, just like how you have to dig. You have to really dig in these rules just to find it, and how many they have for just arbitrary things. But regardless of that, yeah, I don't think Mastercard's really walking away from this. And I think if the pressure builds on them, Visa will be forced to make a statement as well. I'll leave it at that, though. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, please subscribe, leave a comment. It does help with the algorithm, allows more people to become aware of this and spread this story, because more people need to know about this and continue talking about it, because it is very important to discuss. But I love you guys. Chibi out.